Each of our products has a cost, and we know money is right there, but there is something about how you handle the connections that will make the tricky subject of money when you are presenting a service to a customer. It's going to make things flow much better, especially in business like the one I just told you.
Yeah.
It's so sensitive, right? You're talking about the passing of a loved one. How you're gonna treat that? And we have a staff of around 40 people there. So
Wow.
It's very challenging to take them from we're doing this for money to money is a result of how well we connect with our customer.
That was the voice of Jose Carrera, a purpose-driven business leader from Antigua, Guatemala. In this episode, Jose shares his entrepreneurial journey from owning and managing cemeteries and funeral homes with his wife, as well as their founding CCI, a transformative program equipping at-risk youth with business skills and emotional intelligence to successfully navigate adulthood. Jose's story is rooted in continuous learning, a spiritual community, and cultural awareness as he works to make his country a place of more opportunity for everyone. His human-centered philosophy and commitment to social impact make this a must-listen for anyone seeking to lead with their head and heart, to lead with purpose. Well, Jose, welcome to, you're our first international guest on the Repurpose podcast. So thanks for taking the lead on that. And let's start, I gave a little bit in the introduction about your background, but I'd love to hear it in your own words because you straddle a lot of things, both professionally and personally, what you're doing with your program, which we'll come to in our partnership, but the other things you're doing in the community. So maybe you can just do a little introduction of Jose Carrera.
Con mucho gusto, Buddy. Voy a hacer eso en español para todos aquellos que ya están escuchando tu podcast en español y que puedan disfrutarlo también. El primer internacional. Hey, Buddy, that was a little bit of Spanish for you and all your international audience. So the Repurpose podcast. Well, it's just so great to be here with you, Buddy. I remember our time when we got together maybe like a month ago in Miami. I really enjoy our conversation together. And well, you already say my name, Jose Carrera. I am from Guatemala. I was born and raised in Guatemala. And yeah, big family, a lot of orientation to family, a lot of focus on trying to make it happen for the next generation to have a better platform so that they can keep moving forward. And then, so after my studies, I decided to go into mode of connecting to people. One of the things that I can tell you a bunch of stories, but one of the things that I really enjoy about life, Buddy, is connection. I believe we were made for connection and we are wired for connections. I learned early in my professional life that if you develop some skills to connect with people, despite their background or nationality, if you're able to connect to people, you're gonna make it. So if I can give you my background, it will be so many stories, but all those stories go to one thing, the importance of connect to people. So that's what I do in my businesses. We try to connect with people we serve in various communities around here in Antigua, Guatemala, and it's all about connections. I decided early on in my life that I was not going to do business thinking on money or profit only or making sure that we have some cash flow going. It was always about being able to connect to people. So, yeah, that would
Jose,
be.
Let me follow up on that because I think that is, at least for me, the basis for our partnership. And one of the reasons I like talking with you so much is because that's not your focus, it doesn't mean you're not good at it. making money, helping businesses grow, connecting people. And so can you talk a little bit about what those other things are? Because you're in different businesses. And then how does not focusing on the money let you make different decisions than if you were?
Perfect. Yeah, so I always believe that money is a result. It's a result of a group of decisions that are based on your values. And one of my biggest values is connection. So I'll tell you about one of our business here in Guatemala. It's going to be a very interesting business. Every time I talk about this business, people do faces, and it's so interesting to hear that. But we have a cemetery and we have some funeral homes. And one of the things that we cannot think when we are giving one of the families that belong to our group of clients, one of the things that we cannot be thinking on the process of serving them and connecting with them, it's about money. However, we charge. Each of our products has a cost, and we know money is right there, but there is something about how you handle the connections that will make the tricky subject of money when you are presenting a service to a customer. It's going to make things flow much better, especially in business like the one I just told you.
Yeah.
It's so sensitive, right? You're talking about the passing of a loved one. How you're going to treat that? And we have a staff of around 40 people there, so
Wow.
it's very challenging to take them from we're doing this for money to money is a result of how well we connect with our customer.
Jose, I can't imagine a more sensitive moment for most people, right? And they come in grieving and maybe suspicious, like, oh, this person's just trying to make money and of my grief and take advantage of me at my weakest moment. So how do you navigate that, and how do you help your staff navigate? There's probably some part that you can teach, but there's probably some part that is who they are that allows you to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great question, Buddy, because the need that people have, and sometimes I don't have an idea of the need, material need, financial need that one of my team members has. I'm not aware of that. So how, as an organization, you navigate the concept of your team members not to be thinking about their need, but thinking mainly about keep the business going through a good connection. So what we do is that we study some aspects of the market, going back to the cemetery and the funeral homes. They are a group of our competition around us. They have what I call, what is the name, Buddy, of these birds that are ready to jump into a dead body for
a vulture?
A vulture, yes. In Spanish is buitres. You know, there is one aspect, and it sounds so terrible, but that's how they call it. So there's these guys that are around the firefighters, around the public hospitals, and when they find about the passing of somebody, they go and they try to convince the family that they should go with them, and we're going to help you with this, we're going to help you with that. So it's a market that it's very with a hidden agenda, like you say in English, with a hidden agenda. I want you to come to my funeral home, and I'm giving you this face, I'm giving you this treatment that might make you feel good. So what we did, we get rid of that, and we don't have that. We don't have that part of the business. In how we market these services, we call it the pre-need. We're trying to create awareness in the families that we have around our businesses that you should prepare in advance for a tragic event like that. So we don't try to take the emergency and use it to bring business to the company. We try to sell our services as an idea of planning the event of passing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, Jose, I know you're an entrepreneur. You think like an entrepreneur, and you're in a family business, which is its own set of dynamics. You work with your wife in many ways. How do you balance? We've got this sensitive business that's making money and is probably important for the family's financial health. You're taking care of employees, and you're doing it inside this pretty complicated set of circumstances with your wife and maybe brothers or brothers-in-laws and who knows what else. How do you navigate all of that while trying to be an entrepreneur?
I love that. So, my gosh, buddy, how much minutes we have. But, well, a few things that are important. Yes, conflict of interest in family business is so hard to deal with. And that's why we decide with my wife that it's just us. We are the board of our business. So it's just her and me. And then we have CEOs, we have finances people, but the core decisions of where we lead our business go through us. So that helps us a lot to manage the time for that. Now, there is a lot of things that we can talk about. I'm trying to think on one of the most important things. So I'm going to go with this one. We try to fall in love of the problem, not of the solution. So for instance, going back to the cemetery, what's the problem? That cemeteries and funeral homes do not treat this event as with the sensibility that you should have. So that's the problem. We fall in love of the problem. We don't sell the solution. We know that we can be very versatile with having the problem in mind, because the solution, we can find different ways to give the solution to people. So we're not thinking on what am I selling? We're thinking, what are we solving? And when we're thinking like that, we make our business very versatile, and we can find what we call cross-selling. So we have a cemetery, we have funeral homes, but we also have a lab. In Spanish is Laboratorio de Tanatopraxia. So what is that lab? We treat the bodies of the people that just passed and get them ready for the funeral. So when we were thinking about the problem, we thought, we should get this going. It's so hard to get it done because of all the sanitary aspects of it, but we did it. Why? Because we're focusing on the problem that makes our business very versatile.
That's fascinating. So, Jose, I want to segue a little bit to CCI. And when we reached out to you a few years ago now, we came to Antigua, which is maybe one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And
Thank you.
So I have two things. Talk a little bit about CCI and how did you apply the things that you learned in your sort of, I'll put in quotes, regular business to a totally different set of circumstances, different audience, but I'd love to hear how you fell in love with that problem. That is going to be the headline from this conversation, I think. But also, maybe after that, can you talk a little bit about when you come to Antigua, at least my experience was, where's the poverty? Like, what are we talking about here? Because it's very easy, I think. It took me a little bit of time to go from, this place is so beautiful, there can't be that much need, to working with you and understanding who you serve. Like, it is deep. So those things seem connected to me. So maybe you can talk about both.
Yes. People have find out that we love or we fall in love of problems or issues. And there's so many of them, but we fall in love of those that we know we have the capacity to bring some solution to. And we always had a passion for youth. So a couple of homes, they call it homes here, but they are orphanages.
Okay.
So they contact us almost 10 years ago, and they say, we have a problem. Both of the directors of my friends, and they say, Jose, we have a problem. And so we got together, and what was the problem? When orphans turned 18, by law, they needed to be out of the orphanage campus. So they needed to put together a program that will help youth to reconnect with society after being institutionalized for the first years of their lives. Mm-hmm. So I told him, okay, perfect, give me that. I took it to my wife, to a very close team around us, and we put together CCI, which is a Center of Integral Growth. Stands for CCI. We're trying to create this holistic program for youth. Why? Because we knew that they were going to need to develop skills on how they manage money. And so we have the company, we have this problem. Now we have a lot of youth that we can help with it. And so we put together a program that has to do all with connection with themselves, emotional intelligence, connection with others, and with their deepest beliefs. So we did that. And how we use the concept of business, we try to tell them, all right, youth, your really sad background, because some of those backgrounds of those young guys were really tough, and they were tough. We know your background is hard, but man, we need to start to build your future. So it was a little bit of shocking culture for them, but they came from all over the country through these orphanages, and we decided to do it here in Antigua because of tourism, is very safe and secure. So we connect with them, and that's how we start to help this youth to reconnect with their adult life in a country that is not going to be as nice as people were at the orphanage with them. And now, how we help them? We came and we thought, all right, we're going to cover emotional intelligence so we can help them to connect to people. But we also are going to teach them skills development. And what better way to do that with us than going through business? So we try with languages, but some of them were hardly educated. So when we try to introduce a language so that they can get a job in a call center here in Guatemala or something like that, it was very hard for them to learn the language. So it didn't work. Then we tried with coffee. You know, Guatemala is big with coffee, but coffee is too specific. So many things. So it was so hard to find that. And then, so we try different products. We try to manufacture leather with them as we have the program. And then we find you guys, Soul for Souls. And it was great. A friend of mine in Nashville, Tennessee talked to me about you. I thought, and we talked with my wife on the shoes. We thought, well, it's a great product. Is that one transaction that you can get a product for $1 and selling it for $2? It's not too complicated. So we try it, and we did something like a Shark Tank with our first load of shoes with some of the groups of the students, and it worked great. The product was easy for them to create that opportunity, for them to find a market. And from that, we had a program that we were able to help youth to get ready for life. The program became so successful that a lot of people outside the orphanages began to contact us. So we started to receive a lot of applications, and we're trying to manage how we can scale it right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. So Jose, can you talk a little bit about, you talked about emotional intelligence and connecting with others and connecting with your deepest beliefs. When we had a chance to visit, our board was there 2 years ago. You talked about the freedom to do that and the rules that you had to follow to be there, the handbook. So can you talk a little bit about the tension between those two things? Because my guess is these kids often come from places where there's not much in the way of rules and structure. It's kind of everybody for himself or herself. And you come to an environment where you're there of like, I can really offer you a chance to become an adult, but there's some ground rules. So can you talk about how you develop those and how you enforce them?
Oh yeah. Well, we do it in our lives first, and we do it also in the companies, and we run various companies thanks to this structure. My wife and I, we have different values, and one of them, if it's not written, it's going to be very hard to create behavior from that. So we tell these youth, how do you define leadership? They all tell us, I believe leadership is influence. If they read a lot of Maxwell, they say leadership is influence. And if they read from some other people, they will think persuasion, things like that. But we teach them that leader, it's a great follower. When you know how to follow someone else leading, then you're positioning yourself to be a great leader. Why? Because these guys, they come with like a bunch of people that I know, even adults, they have a lot of authority issues because authorities misrepresent leadership when they were growing. So
Yeah.
everybody talks about being a leader. We teach them about being a great follower. Now, who is the leader in a company that I run? It's not Jose. I am a follower. Who is the leader in CCI? It's not Jose or the teachers. Jose and the teachers are followers. So who is leading what is writing? In CCI is the handbook. It's a 72 pages on how you must behave from Monday to Monday, from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we try to invite them into this concept of, I have to follow rules. I have to understand how things work, because that's what they're going to find when they go to university, when they go to and work in a company, or when they decide to start their own business. There is a set of rules. Better if they are in writing that they can use, so that will create behavior. So, and we find, Buddy, that youth love it. Adults, sometimes it's hard for them to get that, especially when we receive them in one of the companies. And all the induction, it's all about reading the handbook. CCI, the first 2 weeks, it's all about reading the handbook. But what is the handbook? It's the leader. So when we have to let one of these youth go, they come to me and they say, Jose, please, let me stay. I won't do it again. I say, it's not me, the one that is kicking you out. It is our leader. And you didn't obey the leader. But come on, give me another chance. Let me see if the leader can give you another chance. And then we read it. We read page 42 of the handbook. And he said, no, this is your last time, man. Hey, I love you, man. I will love to keep you in the program, but the leader has a mind of its own. And I know it's us, the ones that write it. but there is something about that connection of you really learning how to follow.
Yeah.
I think that will make a better society and better companies.
So clearly, to get to 72 pages, you had to put a lot of thought into what that handbook looks like. You didn't get it from ChatGPT. It didn't show up in your mail. So, but I want to take that, Jose, and because the other part that you and I haven't talked about yet with our partnership, and something that you did on your own, was you took this business, which was selling shoes in the Shark Tank, and kind of doing it in an informal way, and now you have stores. You have a warehouse where there's some sales, and you have at least 2 locations, I think now, maybe more on the horizon. So how do you instill in a young person, hey, here's the handbook and here's what exists, and how do you use that for a platform to create and do your own thing if that's what you want to do?
Exactly. And that's what we want with the shoe company and the shoe partnership that we have with you guys. It's all about helping these families to develop a healthy life and a long-term healthy life. So how we use the concept of handbook, how we use the concept of you need something that is something that is written so that you can follow. So we teach them on the last period of their 9 months with us, we teach them to codify or put into writing their ideas. Because ideas can only work if you begin to write them. And then, without them explaining the idea, we take the text and we show it to people that have no clue about what they're writing. And if by only reading it starts to make sense, then we create a dates and we determine dates with that planning. So it's all about them getting a plan going with 5 elements. And I'm going to tell you the 5 elements really quick because it's very helpful for us when let's say we're going to start another business on technology. And I'm saying that because my brother came and knocked our doors and he has a technology company. He says, Jose, I have a problem. He knows me. So let's say that we're going to start a business in technology or that we're going to try something in technology. We have a 5-element methodology for us to put together a plan. First of all, we design the idea. And we use something that Simon Sinek explains, the golden circle. He explains that in a TED Talk. The idea has to take the why, the what, and the how. Right? So that's the first element, the idea. It has to solve something. What is it that you give? The second thing is to put together a networking. Do you have the networking that can help you to get that idea better or get that idea into place? What people do you have around you that you can use, that you can partner with? So team or people, networking. The third thing is planning. So you're going to make a plan. You have the idea, you ask for advice, and then you put together a plan on what is it that you want to do. The fourth thing is finances. You need the money. Where is the money is going to come? You need to create a budget. So we have 4 elements. But if you don't have the 5, it's not going to work. So we have the idea, we have people around you, a good plan, a solid plan, and then you have a capital of investment, some kind of money to start the program. But the 5th element is the perfect timing. And that's the one you're not going to find until you put your plan into place. So it's basically action, but we call it timing, perfect timing. Why? Because after 3 months, you're going to see if it's the perfect time for you to do that, if the time for that planning is working. So we use that to help the youth to start, but they need to put something into writing that they can go back and read it. And what was that thing that I thought at the beginning, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you use that structure to help them launch something. It's not just passion and enthusiasm and an idea. You really give them those 5 things, which I love. So one of the things that you and I connected on and I value about every time we talk, maybe it's Peter Drucker who said this, not every reader is a leader, but every leader is a reader. And so I know that you are constantly looking to learn and your own network is pretty powerful. So can you talk a little bit about how you keep yourself fresh? I mean, it would be easy to say, look, I've got these businesses, it's all going great, I have all these young people around me, and yet instead of riding that wave, I know that you're always looking for new ideas and new sources for wisdom and inspiration. So how do you do that so that you stay fresh?
That's a great question, buddy. I have mentors in my life. So my mentors are classified in those that are still alive and those that are not anymore. So, I love to read, but my favorite book of my entire life is the Bible. I hate that people take the Bible and say that that's a religious or a religion book. The Bible it doesn't talk about a religion. The Bible, it's a history document that shows you how things work in the kingdom that is perfect. So the Bible teaches you principles about kingdom, about managing, about money, about how you can be better. So I read a lot, I visit a lot of books, but I live in the Bible. And I wanted to tell you that because there are some commentaries of the Bible that I read daily. So a commentary it's a person like Matthew Henry or Barclay. They make big and deep commentaries on the Bible about different concepts. So I read those commentaries every day. That keeps me up to date of those subjects that I really like. And I believe one of the challenging things about people not getting a reading habit is because they're reading things that they have to.
Yeah.
You have to read things that you like to read, things that you enjoy. So in the Bible, I have a lot of my mentors and then the commentaries that I read every day in the Bible every day of people that already pass. But then I have those that are alive, like my mentor, my personal mentor, his name is Darren Casaban, it's from St. Louis. And then I have some other videos around me that help me to stay connected. Authors like Miles Monroe, and there's some nationals here that I like. So I try to do that. And yes, I have time, even though my family and the business and the programs and my serving in a local church, yeah, I have time to develop Jose and all these ideas.
Good. Well, that shows that you are really, that you invest the time in that too, to keep yourself open and interested and interesting. So that I appreciate about you very much. We're coming near to the end of our time, but before I ask you the last question, I have one more question for you. You have a lot of experience in the U.S. You traveled here. You said one of your main mentors is from the U.S. Are there big differences that you see between being an entrepreneur in the U.S. and Guatemala, or some of the work that you're trying to do there? Is it different, or how is it harder? Maybe how is it easier? Because I think it's easy to say, let's show up with a U.S. solution to a Guatemalan problem. I think a lot of Americans do that. And I can imagine that being irritating as well as not helpful. Mm-hmm. But it also means that I think you found a way that works for the people in your country and the culture that you're in. And so just talk a little bit about some of those differences that you see, because I think they're easy to miss.
Yeah. Well, we can go from the practical to the very philosophical ones. The practical is in the U.S. you have a bigger market. Mm-hmm. You have over 100 million people that you can find different niche for your product. The other practical thing is the credit. Credit works different in the United States than in Guatemala. In Guatemala, banks will try to find even the type of your socks that you use on a Monday before they give you a credit. And I'm just trying to be very dramatic with the amount of information that they ask you before giving you some of their money to a high interest. So I think the credit works different and it's more open in the U.S. Okay. The third practical thing I'll say is the delivery system. You know, you have the national
like
mail,
the post office, and
right. The post office and all that. There's a culture of that in your country, and it's safe. People can send checks, or people can send their products through mail, and there is insurance and stuff like that. That is beginning to work in Guatemala, but is not safe. So those are three practical things that I will say make the difference when you try to find those different aspects between the U.S. and Guatemala. The one good thing in Guatemala is that things might be cheaper, probably might be cheaper. Here, the market for used clothing or used like fridge and microwaves, and it's bigger because people does not let go of things so easy. So you still find in neighborhoods those guys that they will repair your TV. While maybe in other countries it's, oh, the TV
No.
doesn't work, let's get a new one.
Yeah.
But here, so you can find cheaper products, you can make a better use of $1 more than in another country. And then the market for reuse products, it's more open in the culture of people.
Yeah, that's a great point. My wife had a friend she worked with for many years who was from Guatemala, and she said that to her. She's like, if your curling iron stops working or whatever, don't get a new one. When I go back, I'll take it. And there are 100 people who can still fix it, like you said, and because that's part of how things are affordable and you keep things in use. I love that about the culture.
Yeah, I was riding a motorcycle in North Carolina and I got a flat tire. So I stopped by a Home Depot. You know, here in Guatemala, you'll find a guy every corner that will fix your tire for $1. So I went into Home Depot because that's where they told me. It was, I don't know if it was Home Depot or it was one of those stores. And I know they're not sponsoring your podcast, so I'm sorry. But you know, one of those big stores, warehouse type of stores that they have auto part repaired. They say, oh, you can get it there. So I went there and I said, hey, I have a flat tire. I was getting my $1, $2 ready for you to fix my tire. And he says,
oh, Jose.
the guy said, so you want a new tire? I said, no, I want the same one. I just want you to give me one of those things that you get the thing out and then you put it in. Oh, that's good. That's going to be $150. $150? Yeah, because you need to pay your membership. Oh my gosh. So it was, those are the easy things in a country like ours, you know, like, hey, the air conditioner is not working. Let's call that guy. So we have a lot of handyman people around for cheap.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that, Jose. All right, so I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask everyone as we wrap up, and I think this is particularly interesting for you. You have a new baby. You've got older daughters. You've got a lot of range in your life. But 20 years from now, what do you want to remember about this moment? Not, looking back, but right now, what are the things in your life that you want to be sure when you are 20 years from this moment? You're like, I have to remember that. It's important that I keep track of how I felt, what I thought about that moment.
Yeah, I know it's going to sound it's strange, but this response, I believe is a great question because every mindset is a world, it's a universe. So one of the things that I want to remember is riding my motorcycle with my wife with me, taking a time to go and hit the road. And we have one of those Bluetooth mics in our helmets. So we're able to go and see the volcanoes, the mountains, the rivers, just go out, but talk. Find that moment that I can talk to my wife and that I can, in 20 years, treasure that with her, talking about even the business, because business can eat a marriage alive if we don't develop the skill to talk. And all these things, all these people around us trying to pull us from one side to another. So in 20 years from now, I don't want to forget how beautiful it is to jump in a motorcycle with my beautiful wife as a passenger right there and just talk to her. And sometimes just listen, because I'm trying to drive for us not to get killed, but just for her to speak her guts, and that I can say, yeah, exactly. So I want to make sure that is the one aspect in my life that I enjoy the most right now, to stays very alive with me as the decades go by.
Jose, that is a beautiful answer. I love that. I love the fact that you're moving and you're still and you're talking and you're also out in doing something. That's the great answer. So look, thanks for your time, Jose. It is always time well spent when I get the chance to talk with you. So thanks for joining us and sharing your perspective and some of what you're doing in Guatemala and the partnership that we have, for which I'm super grateful and look forward to lots more time together. So thanks.
Me too, buddy. Thank you for this time and the invitation. And I really, as always, I enjoy very much. I know that is one of the things that I love about us finding each other, that I know this is going to be a friendship for life. And I know that you have family here in Guatemala and that you can come anytime. And we know that we have you guys over there, so it's a very healthy and we learn from you guys a lot. So thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Repurpose Podcast with Buddy Teaster. You can learn more about what we do at s4s.org. And if you like this content, please share, rate, and review our episodes wherever you get your favorite podcasts.